All right. Well, what'd you guys expect with the election fallout, except for some leftist infighting? It's not as bad as you would think. And honestly, this isn't I'm not doing drama farming. Not yet. Trust me. Might make a content pivot at some point in my time here, but not now. We're going to still try and focus on, the actual politics and substance of everything. But one thing that has started to happen, and it's even been happening in my private life, is when we are trying to reflect on why Kamala Harris and the Democrats, tanked the way they did, it's brought about some spirited debates, and some of it has also brought some hot takes where you're just like, well, I think that the left needs to use this as their mirror, and also like as a stepping stone for their new movement, which I mean, that's the best way to look at this. And I'm just going based off my personal thoughts right now. Before we go into the actual leftist mafia. Yes, they're number one. If you're not familiar with them, there is a Thursday show that is the Leftist Mafia. It's a tongue-in-cheek thing where they were going to call themselves the woke mob, but I guess that was already taken. So, but these guys are, I watch all of their shows and all of their content separately of each other. So it was really cool when they came together. And actually, funny enough, Ole, who I just covered one of her videos, she was on the first wave of that show. And there was also the Illuminati, who, if you have not heard that name or haven't heard it in a while, yeah, crazy, right? Yeah, it was right before all of her drama. And I was admittedly also a fan of hers at that point. So, but yeah, it's definitely spawned some leftist infighting. So I wanted to take a look at a spirited debate that happened.
Actually, the difference was the Democrats plummeted by 10 million votes. They're like, for them to tell everyone this is the most important election of a lifetime and all this shit, they fumbled the bag.
Right into the financial crisis. I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job, except that we can, and none of us could afford anything. But other than that,
I'm going to be the center of this one.
We've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think we're. I don't know. Again, this generational talk I get into, and then I realize it's not. It's not cut and dry.
This is the most parasocial thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Right. Obviously,
it's very broad.
It's really weird.
People.
But broadly, I feel like millennials are largely good at weeding out bullshit in a way that other generations don't, because we were on like the precipice, like when the internet like was first a thing, we were sentient, and like we were like we caught on to what it grew into, and so we can catch shit like AI posts and bullshit like that.
I mean,
and, like what's an ad, what's not an ad. Apparently, Gen Z has a harder time, again, broadly speaking, has a harder time deciphering what's like sponsorship or ad versus what is just real. There's like a study done on this. I got to find it now to back up my claims.
Blaming generations because we were there ridiculous. The whole time, we're doing vote shaming is what we're doing, and like honestly, this comes down to very clearly a lot of people didn't buy the Democrats' pitch. It's not that like one specific demographic is this one specific. Like people are blaming Latino voters right now. They're saying, "Oh well, yeah, I hope you enjoy getting deported." People are blaming.
57%. And you know what? No, it's not even that, man. And yeah, you know what? If you're going to sit there and call out our being angry with a certain like part of our electorate, I'm sorry, Lance. Like, number one, give us some time, dude. Like, let us be angry. Let us reflect on this thing. And also let us let us point out that it's not the largest contingent. 80% of white males voted for Trump. Be just as pissed at them, but everybody else that did too, fuck you too.
Blaming Arab and Muslim voters who refused to, not remain uncommitted. It's none of their fault.
No, it is their fault for voting against their self-interest, just like every other American. And I'm sick of this argument.
Democrats' fault for getting 10 million less people engaged and driven out to the polls. It's
everyone's fault but mine. Let's put it that way. It's everyone's fault.
I appreciate that.
No, it is.
No, it's obviously. I just feel like that's like a given. Like that's like an obvious. I just think that the conversation is interesting in discussing like. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that a lot of people don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm just saying a lot of fucking people don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, but
they vote for abortion rights and then vote for Trump. They vote for raising wages, they vote for sick leave, and then they vote for Trump. Like, a lot of people don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right, but they're not going to the polls voting for that.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree, honestly. If they don't know what's going on, then educate themselves. Like, don't be stupid.
Fuck you, dude. No. Not everybody in America has the time or the energy to get that engaged. They barely watch the news, let alone interact with, political content. So, no. I'm sorry, man. And at that point, then you can blame their kids, I guess, like the leftist kids of these parents for not being better teachers then. What?
Stupid. You have the internet.
That's the problem.
You can actually.
This is not a winning strategy. None of this is going to succeed in getting new people.
It's not that simple though, because they don't know. They don't know that they're like. You can't educate yourself.
Well, then enjoy fascism if you're too stupid to look it up. I'm sorry. I'm not going to absolve Americans of voting affirmatively for fascism in 2016.
They're both right on this. Surprisingly.
Whoa, what the fuck did you do? Maybe you didn't know. Now they know. Trump was basically saying, "Hey, everyone, I'm going to be Hitler too." If you voted for that out of ignorance or economic concerns, you are fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's my position
reality.
here. Like, this is a fucking loser that tried to steal the election. It's how do you vote for this man again? Like, I get the situation sucks, and broadly,
this is all a losing strategy. All of this, it's
exactly. I'm not saying this is a strategy.
No, but I'm saying.
No, but this is also venting, Lance. At some point, this isn't just strategizing. At some point, this is just reflecting. So, like, yes, this is the time to have this discussion and these opinions.
I wouldn't say this is a Democrat.
Can we vent? Can
I
we
wouldn't
talk
say this is a Democrat running for Congress.
Thank you.
This is how we're feeling.
I would never say this if I'm running for office.
I'm just saying this is how we're feeling right now. It's normal to feel this way.
Wow. It's almost like, I don't know, David is trying, like, oh, yeah, can we have these emotions? Well, again, I've always said this about Lance, but he is literally the one that I think that anytime somebody says virtue signaler, he's the picture of it.
It's like, oh my God, groceries got high, so I voted for Hitler too. That's not, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. That's not an excuse. What?
Exactly.
He's Hitler too. Like, listen, Democrat or voters in America.
Like, this is the same.
Right.
Like, that's
and listen, Matt, Listen, you can fucking take Hitler's old ass corpse and turn him into a Frankenstein, and he could say, I will come back and do exactly what I did. And if Americans honestly thought that he would, like, lower the cost of gas by $1.50, they would vote for him in a landslide. We don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. We're a psychotic nation. We are one of the dumbest countries on earth by a mile.
I will totally agree with that.
Close. Yes. And there's no excuse. People in North Korea don't have access to alternative information, and they have to be loyal to the regime and loyal to elites out of risk of death. We have no excuse. We're just choosing to be fucking stupid. And if that's your choice, well, have at it. You sealed all of our fates, but have fun. Don't complain when the tariffs come back to bite you in the ass. I'm sorry.
No, they will. And that's the thing. You need to be there to just rub their face in that, and also make sure that you, like, we need to print up charts. Like, seriously, if I mean, we all carry pretty much this now, like, as far as wallets. So just always have that chart on your phone where it's just like, nope, here.
You can't. But you can't be like that, though, because it's gonna hurt a lot of people who didn't vote for it, or people who legitimately
and that's terribly sad. That's sad.
Like there are people.
Well, if you were tricked, you were tricked. Don't be dumb. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again, motherfucker. I am gonna be like that. I'm a petty bitch. Fuck them all.
Well, at some point, I mean, Mike is actually making. Inarticulate as it is, it is a good argument where it's just like, hey, you reap what you sow. You live in the shit that, if you're gonna sit there and you're gonna wear a diaper, and you know that you can be potty trained, but you're gonna continuously shit in the diaper, and then you just never change that diaper, that's on you.
Enjoy the suffering, motherfuckers. This is what you voted for.
I know that's a gross analogy, I'm sorry.
You just can't, though. You just can't.
I'm not wrong, and you all know it.
I listen, I get the sentiment, but you just can't. I mean, it's what ostensibly separates what we believe and what they believe, and they as in Republicans.
Guys, I just looked at this and I feel like I'm a fusion of all four of them.
Right? I can't, like, obviously you could have different levels
with our powers combined. PepTalks!
Of empathy for certain people. but you just can't leave people behind.
But don't get me wrong. I have zero empathy for Nazis, fascists, all that kind of shit. Like, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that, like, people often say, Lance, why do you even care if Americans get healthcare? You're not American. None of this affects you. Because I want Americans to have healthcare universally, because it'll make Americans more healthy. If they're more healthy, they'll have more time to do more shit, such as read, such as learn, such as look this shit up, such as actually learn how to be media literate, all that kind of stuff.
I do get what they're
just basically like, hey, by the way, this red state doesn't believe in vaccination. Nah, it'll be hilarious if they all die then. This other state is like lowering their literacy rates because they don't believe in books or literature. It'll be funny if they all die. Well, then, it's perpetually going to keep moving towards this in terrible situation.
Not funny. It's just, at some point you have to, I think that this is why, like, Christians do that thing, like, where their favorite verse is, God grant me the serenity. Like, that's
situation where fascism's
I forgot the actual verse, but wow, this is bad for me.
Taking over. That's like that's the pathway.
And it also does affect us. I mean, the fact, like, because the standard for healthcare in the US is so low, it doesn't require our political leaders to fight for anything better here, because it's like, oh, at least we're not the US. Like, that tends to be like how people feel about healthcare here. Like, we have real issues in our healthcare system where we should be properly investing into it and expanding it. And then people go, well, it's not the US.
That's why it's a serenity prayer.
Is that the standard? Like,
I hate how I conflate that stuff sometimes, where I'm just like, oh, that wasn't even in the Bible.
Like, the issue is, the U.S. is such a leader, both politically and culturally. And if you only live within its borders and don't understand or haven't traveled outside, you have a hard time understanding that. But, like, Canadians especially, we're right next door. We feel it. Like, a lot of our culture is embedded in American culture, and it has a serious impact. We have our own fucking moron now.
Posers. Yeah, frickin' poser hosers.
Pierre Poilievre rising. And it's just, this ongoing thing because of, let's be clear, this is really, I mean, stemming from the 80s, from neoliberalism and sort of the continuation of that and the failure of any proper actual left-wing party and the constant fighting against any real left insurgent in any country. That's what has led to where we are now. But it's these, when a Trump pops up, it affects us a few years later, and it's an ongoing cycle.
I will say, I think that I'm not trying to say that, like, there's any one magic bullet. Like, I still think Bernie would have won. I still think that leftist populism a competent, unapologetically left-wing Democratic Party would have won. But at the same time, Bernie Sanders catalyzed a nationwide movement, and after 2016, there were dozens of candidates, hundreds of candidates across the country that were running, and they got wiped out. So if voters are genuinely dissatisfied with the system, and they don't pay attention to the options that they have.
Yeah, but it's because, I mean, this is going to be a hot take, but I think it's because they hear the word socialist or democratic socialist or any type of, like, they really buy into that stuff. They buy into the communist monikers and stuff like that. Like, dude, Red Scare politics is still so just ingrained in us. And I was on, like, my generation was on the back end of the Red Scare. Like, Red Dawn barely made sense to me.
Then I don't know what to say. Things will just continue to get worse. And I get that there's also systemic issues as well. But I think you can't absolve people of individual responsibility, especially if, like, anyone who voted for Donald Trump, they absolutely are culpable regardless of the factors and the institutional factors. At this point in time in 2024, I refuse to accept this idea that voters just got hoodwinked or duped. Maybe that's true, but at the same time, if it's so transparent and you can't see that this person is literally Hitler too and you vote affirmatively for that, there's just no escaping the reality that, like, these people are psychopaths. It doesn't take a fucking history major to understand that what we're seeing is very reminiscent of World War II. Mm-hmm. Some things are just like...
I got a friend that's not politically active, but he just hit me up where he's like, yeah, I've been watching, documentaries on how the rise of fascism, and this is starting to look a little like it.
Super obvious. And this was
as
really
I said,
obvious.
He's not political.
And I don't blame third-party voters. I don't blame anyone who didn't vote. I blame the people who voted for Trump specifically. So just to be clear, That's the only voter shaming I'm doing.
I do too.
There was very little change between the last election and this election for the Trump support. The MAGA people. No. I'm saying the MAGA people came out in the same numbers for the last 2 elections. They were constant. It was almost the same amount of MAGA voters came out the first time. The second time, they didn't change. Right? Yeah, totally. But I'm saying in this election, the difference was the Democrats plummeted by 10 million votes. They're like for them to tell everyone this is the most important election of a lifetime and all this shit, they fumbled the bag. They fucked this up, and all of you know that because I've watched your videos. I watch them on stream all the time. The energy from the coconut memes to the DNC to the shitting all over to the Liz Cheney to all that hardline Israel stuff. That was the Democrats doing. Like they needed Democrats to come out. The MAGA people were always going to be MAGA people, and they were always going to vote MAGA, and they vote MAGA like in spite of all that shit. Like in the same way Democrats were asking people, you need to realize this is the most important election. You need to understand that while yes, genocide bad, worse genocide could be happening there. And so some people did swallow it and be like, fine, fuck it, I will put my name on the ballot. That's also Republican voters who are like, yeah, I've heard some fucked up things about him. He's really sexist, he's racist, but you know what? I'm still voting for the guy, you know? And it wasn't just distinctly like every single time they voted, it was like, I'm doing this just because I hate like minorities. That's the reason I'm voting for Trump. It was they don't feel listened to from the other end because neoliberal policies do fuck all for them. And when people can't afford homes,
I don't buy that.
No, Vance, or Lance is right about that. That was kind of the whole thing behind all of this was like they don't feel heard. They don't feel like they're being represented, and that is the crux of it. Like grocery prices are a huge one, but it's also price of goods and services too. Like it's all gone up, and it's very hard to afford, even with our like incremental wage increases.
You don't buy that?
I don't buy that.
That is why
some of them, yes. Some of them, yes.
Where's Mike coming from on this?
Absolutely. But a lot of these people vote out of spite. I have family members who have told me I am voting for Trump because I want to destroy this country. Like people.
Well, those are accelerationists. Yes, those aren't MAGA supporters.
Those aren't.
But a lot of them are just cruel. A lot of them fucking hate trans people. A lot of them hate black people. Like you can't coddle the people who just voted for Hitler too. Fuck them all. Like I don't. Yeah. There's
I'm not. Hey, can Matt be heard here? Like I understand that you guys have the bigger channel, I guess, but like, come on.
Calling them. I'm not.
And it's only because Bender has the lower mic tone.
Calling them. I want this to stop happening.
Those aren't the people I'm talking about. Obviously, I'm not saying like, listen, we have to meet Nick Fuentes where he is and sit down and discuss with him. No, so there's obviously.
I know you're not saying that. No, I know you're not saying that.
And the MAGA diehards and those guys, the right wing influencers. I'm not talking about those guys. Fuck those guys. Fight those guys. I don't give a shit about those guys. But we didn't get here because just those guys came out to vote. I mean, you're looking at the entire country, at least those who came out to vote for this election go rightward. And they fell for what Donald Trump was selling. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's no way that this election ends up this way without a good number of just average everyday people coming out and voting for Donald Trump because they bought what he was selling. And part of the reason they bought what he was selling is because they heard him talk about something that they weren't hearing from the Democratic presidential campaign.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
But I will.
Prices. It's all they cared about. And honestly, it wasn't even what he was talking about. It was the fact that he was kind of running on a almost incumbency where they were just like, yeah, we're going to let this go.
So, that part I'm confused by though. Because what was he because Kamala Harris actually was like, I'm not saying she ran a good campaign. There's serious failures. The Democratic Party, Lance, I agree with you completely on everything about everything you said. But Trump, his campaign speeches were about personal grievances, or about like immigrants.
That's why I was saying it had nothing to do with what he was saying. It was everything about you want to talk about vibes based? The vibes were all with the fact that they were like, oh yeah, we we vibed with the fact that prices were lower in 20 blah blah blah.
That his entire
he was sucking a dick in the last campaign days.
That was hilarious.
Pretending to suck a cock at the rally, pantomiming dick sucking. Gonna say that was
so
policy.
funny.
Oh, we've had policies.
It's not like Trump went out there and was like delivering like any kind of message.
All right. But to be completely fair, this is the things that we're watching, and these are the things we're laughing about. If you read the reason why people were voting for Trump, specifically in groups I never thought would vote for Trump, such as first-generation immigrants, such as minorities, such as Latino voters, every single one of them was not reporting the reason why they were voting for Trump was because they hated women or because they just hated black people.
Sorry about that. Had to let my dog out.
They were saying that right now they're having economic problems, or right now they are not having trouble buying bills. Groceries are too high. Gas is too high. All that kind of stuff. Yes, this is what is happening. You're seeing this globally.
It's not just the U.S.
It doesn't need
facing election in developed country this year lost the vote share. The first time this has ever happened.
Because the metrics in which people sell that the economy is good does not necessarily apply to everyone's lives. Right. If your rent is high, your food costs are high, all this stuff, it doesn't fucking matter what the stock market is. When you see the stock, who the fuck owns stocks, right? People paying rent, right? Like you can have strong economies and still have people be like, but I still can't afford shit. And so that's why they're like, well, what's the other guy? What's the other guy offering? Because neoliberal policies are just barreling them down this road.
The thing is, I don't even think it's about what he's offering. It's about not voting Democrat. It's like, hey, these people are in power. I'm not voting for them. I'm voting for somebody else. I think that's what goes to the graph here. Like,
I feel like they need to start letting Matt talk.
And to what you're both speaking to that economic anxiety
let
and the
Matt
devastation.
talk. Is Matt not part of this show? Like, seriously, like is anybody else kind of catching that they have like a little bit of disdain for him because they really do they do not let him engage.
And neoliberalism.
And that's why he's laughing.
A fine rationalization for somebody
and Mike just keeps going. Does he not see what's going on?
Apathetic and stays home. It's not somebody like that. I don't apply that to the Trump supporters. I'm sorry. I refuse to buy that. People in this country, culture is
let him
toxic
talk.
And cruel.
This is all right. Did anybody else just get a little bit of like anxiety there? Come on.
Fuck the immigrants who hate other immigrants. It's just kind of a fuck you, I got mine mentality. I'm gonna pull the ladder up behind me because that's how we all are as Americans. It's a cultural problem. We're equal people.
That's a humanity thing. That's a humanity thing. That's not just Americans.
That's a lot of people. Donald Trump got more of the vote in New York City than any Republican in something like 40 years or something like that. I've been looking at the districts that he won or came within points, single-digit points of winning. We're talking about districts, minority Latinos, district with minority Asian, Chinese, Korean. He won big gains with almost every minority group except for Black Americans. I mean,
10% is not bad.
Like, you can't just say like this. Go back to the 2016 reasons he won and say it's the same thing. People are clearly, we could say there's a problem that people are clearly willing to look past all of the other really bad stuff if they think he's going to help their wallets and pocketbooks first and foremost. We can say that, but we can't say that. Like, we can't just pretend though that they voted for the other stuff. It's a problem that they're willing to look past it, but I can't necessarily say they voted for it. Maybe they're going to learn their lesson after they realize just how bad it'll get, but just can't like just have this large
where Mike
from all backgrounds voting for him and say it's because of this one thing.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Mike, in the sense that like it's
man, Mike, he has a really bad problem with being able to compartmentalize his thoughts. I mean, this is the reason that I have to pause, and I'm working on this. I just started, by the way. So like he's been doing this for a few years. He should know, especially doing these panel shows. It's like you've kind of, you've taken over the time, I couldn't think of the word. Sorry.
It's absolutely abhorrent to see.
I am on cold medicine right now.
Just in place, especially like considering.
Allegra, sorry.
What it's going to mean for, like, you know, so many vulnerable groups that all of us in this room care about, right? That we all advocate on the behalf of, and like the revulsion at that, and that there is absolutely a percentage of people who do that kind of shit because it's a way to own or get lib tears or be like, I'm fighting wokeness by voting for a fascist. And you're like, there absolutely is. But I'm just saying, bigger picture, when you zoom out, and if we want to be able to fight against this kind of stuff, we have to recognize what is driving them. And I think it's a lot more than simply, like in the case of Hillary Clinton, that they just hated the idea of a woman president, right, or something like that.
Yeah, but Lance, we have all been saying that. I think that's why this conversation for me is sort of like a given. Like all of us since 2016 have been saying that it's the Democratic Party and their lack of a real message to working class people, like that. Like the venting here about Trump's voters, I just think we're just venting.
That's why we were all like grasping at the straws they were giving us, where it's like, that's why we were so like gung-ho about the union stuff, and we were really focusing on those types of things and like the insulin costs, because those were the little bits of populist policy that we were getting. And that, I mean, it was something to feel good about, but realistically, when we do look at like the overall big picture of what Americans would like and what is actually popular, they really are just towing the corporate line and making sure that everybody else gets theirs before we get ours.
Venting, like it's the fact that these elections are even close with this fucking lunatic, like, is insane to me.
Yeah,
wasn't close.
So like that continues to be insane to me. It's hard not for that to be insane. But
that makes me so mad at liberals in the Democratic Party for not listening to anyone who is just, you know, it's not like they're not aware of any of these points or facts along the way. It's not like they didn't know that there was a risk in Michigan specifically of not appealing in any way, shape, or form to any of these, you know, committed delegates that they had gotten to the committee that they would refuse to let speak. They refused to platform. Like, them and their strategy of going center right and spending more time with Liz Cheney praising Dick Cheney than they did with any Muslim or Arab voter, while
the last 3 weeks of her campaign were very uncomfortable.
Trump, on the other hand, while we were all making fun of him, have you seen the clips where he was in Michigan saying things like Dick Cheney has slaughtered millions of Arabs and Muslims? He's a war criminal.
He had billboards in Arabic.
Yes,
in Michigan too.
He's playing the game while we're laughing at him, while liberals are making fun. He's the orange man. He likes McDonald's. Look at his weird face. All this kind of stuff. Well, look what the
you did the same shit. Don't be I hate when again. I love how he can make all this content and then just totally forget that he was doing the same thing and be very hypercritical about that shit without calling out the fact that he was playing into it.
Doing on the other side, you know, and Democrats are still hoping Brat Summer and the Swiftie endorsement are going to change all this. That, like, 10 million fucking votes gone with this strategy. Like, you know, they should be absolutely revolted with themselves. The strategists, the insiders.
Are they going to learn? Like, which is, I don't know why I asked the question. No, they're not going to learn.
I don't know. I'm trying to be hopeful with this one, that this is kind of the nail in the coffin for them, where we thought this with 2016, but then again, they kind of shifted rightward, so yeah.
And the 2 losses, I've already been seeing what the cable news clowns have been saying. You know, with the occasional, you know, Chris Hayes has a good analysis. Like, there's an occasional person that knows what's going on, and that's allowed on television. But the vast majority of them are just doing the same shit they always do. They keep complaining the Democratic Party isn't far right enough. They run a far right campaign, they lose. It's not far right enough. Like, how fucking more far right do you have to go?
Well, yeah, but you got to stop like catering to the corporate media when we know that it's exactly what it is, and this proves that it doesn't have the impact that you think it does.
And lethal military, immigration, deporting people. How fucking more far right do you have to go? She didn't even talk about her gender.
Mass deportations, terror, 100% terror.
The most lethal military force in the world. It's like, what the fuck?
There's 2 Democrats who are saying we got to get more transphobic.
Could you possibly get?
Yeah. And Mike's right. They're coming out now saying they got to get more transphobic with Tom Cecile
or
whatever.
That's one guy I saw. That's
2 guys.
Okay.
Plus
2 guys.
Colin Allred.
Yeah, 2 guys within a huge delegation of people. Like, right here, you're already focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah.
This is this right here is platforming the wrong ideas, and this is the stuff that's going to stick because it's outrageous.
Yes.
They're going to get more transphobic.
Multiple.
They think that they can honestly peel off the Republican Party's base by adopting fascism. And what I'm trying to get people to realize, and this is why I'm attacking Trump voters in particular, we live in two different planes of existence, okay? We hate each other. We have irreconcilable differences.
That's, again, playing into this really bad mentality. You shouldn't hate them. You should just... You can be angry at them. You can have disdain for them, but hating somebody for who they voted for is kind of part of the problem here, and we just keep playing into it. The left is just as guilty here.
One side has to win, and the other has to lose going forward. The bad guys won, and they might just have solidified their victory. But given this reality, Democrats have to understand.
You know, you both see your side as the good side, you know, but never acknowledge that
this is always going to be about mobilization and not persuasion. Kamala persuaded less Republican voters to support her than Joe Biden did in 2020. Okay? So with that reality, they have to understand, which they won't, because they don't care. They don't want to win. They're losers. But they have to understand that this is about getting people out to vote, not winning over fascists. The more they try to pander to fascists, the more they fuck off, tell the base to fuck off, the more they lose. So we have to understand that in this polarized...
after September, it really did kind of feel like they were just abandoning not even just the far left. They were abandoning the populist left.
Environment.
Cheney, ironically,
there's two different types of people
that started happening.
There's good people and there's bad people. And I don't think it is unreasonable to dichotomize them that way. 2016, yes, you can say there were a lot of people that...
I would actually differentiate them. The people who voted for Trump, like for the social issues, are the bad ones. But the ones that were just doing it for economic anxiety, you got to kind of give them a little leeway. I know, hot take.
Ended up voting for Donald Trump in spite of his racism, which isn't a great defense for them. But they voted for him despite his racism because of the economy. But we are 8 years now into the Trump era. And if you voted for him after all of this shit, there's just no excuse. I don't know. I don't care how much economic anxiety you're feeling.
I'm sorry, man.
No
that's just not real. That's not being realistic, especially with how he won the popular vote. I'm sorry. I can't agree with that.
People back. To the extent that the Democrats should try,
it's much more complicated
by not abandoning their principles, sure. But it goes back to get out the base. Trump got out the base, and turbocharged his base, got him so excited. Democrats said, fuck you. Anytime somebody would show up to protest Harris, she'd say, I'm speaking when it comes to Gaza, and then dumbass liberals put that on a fucking shirt. So it just, we need to know what we're dealing with here. Trump supporters are evil. They're demons. Democrats can't win them over. If they don't understand that.
That wasn't from... Wait. That slogan wasn't from that. That was from her Mike Pence debate. See, again, conflating that and saying that it was all about Gaza. You guys really... this is the problem. You are overinflating how much Gaza was the issue. Yes, it was a issue, but it wasn't the issue that lost her the election, okay? And you can try and make it that, the whole referendum based on that, but it's not real.
And we don't understand that we can't win them over, then it's going to be fun. We just have to mobilize the good people to the extent that we can and get the good people. I think we're in the minority or
there's
plurality.
Not 80 million
get them on our side to beat the bad people.
Mike, can you pull up the graphic I put in the Twitter
again,
chat?
This whole and just keep calling them bad people, and that's really going to win them over. You know, you do realize you have to change their minds to win these elections. 10 million people didn't show up, but there were also more people who just ended up voting for Trump that have that swung, that voted for Biden. So you have to make these acknowledgments, man. Why is it so easy for us to bury our heads when we're in these little bubbles? This is the whole problem with the whole ecosystem and the algorithm, because we're only being fed things that are giving us the confirmation bias. Again, hot takes.
Twitter group chat. All the liberal pundits right now who are telling you that this disaster happened because she was too left or too liberal or too woke, instead of identifying that her campaign
dumbest
is
fucking people.
Yeah, I know, it's absolutely absurd.
That's
it's ridiculous. I hope everyone knows she intentionally was
she went
choosing her words extremely
so
carefully.
dumb.
This was not an identity politics campaign. She was not campaigning distinctly on being the first woman. She was asked once about trans rights, and she said she would follow the law, which is a very scary fucking centrist answer to something where you should be actually standing for human rights. But when people say the support of left-wing policies or populist policies. This is a picture of the independent donations that came in for Bernie Sanders versus every other candidate who ended up running until they kneecapped his campaign. So Bernie Sanders' policies and Bernie Sanders' ideas are overwhelmingly popular. It's not wokeness. He doesn't say that I'm going to usher in the wokest woke that ever woke, and we have to, maintain that no slurs will be said and things like that. No, he's talking about how everyone should have paid sick leave. That's unbelievably popular position, right? Things like that. How there's a 1% versus the 99%. All this kind of shit is stuff that resonates with all voters, regardless of who they're usually aligned with. Independent voters, sometimes Republicans, and those coveted, like, how do we get those kind of people? That's how they gutted this. Like, they had Tim Walz. Let's go.
I just want to mention, and he had huge Latino support, which Trump ended up getting a big chunk of course, in this election. Like, Bernie Sanders would have won 1,000 times over. Like, this election, 2016, 2020, he would have done better than Joe Biden did. Like, it's clear from all of the data. And the reason that people are like, well, then why can't he win the primary? Because primary voters are not general election voters. A lot of people come out to vote just in a general. Don't know what the hell's going on during a primary, but will come out to vote in a general election. Bernie Sanders, his constituency is an independent voter, someone who's not going to be a registered Democrat voting in a primary. His voter is someone who's going to vote in a general election, but he's never able to make it that far because of the fucked up system that exists.
Well, to be fair, he didn't. At one point, he could have taken the vote away, but he saw that he was just going to be an upset candidate because he just knew he wasn't going to win at that point because the Democratic establishment, which, trust me, I'm not saying... I'm not playing devil's advocate here either. Like, screw that, but still, that's just what happened.
Well, that's it. We're all done.
Was Mike breaking up? Was David breaking up for everyone or just me?
No, he was fine for me.
Oh, it was. Oh boy, my connection might be going. All right, well,
if
I suddenly drop out, that's why. No, it's good.
You sound fine to me, Matt. You're not like.
Yeah, you sound great.
You're not breaking up for me.
All right, cool. All right. Yeah, I mean. I don't know what to say. I
pissed some people off. I'm not taking it back. Fuck Trump voters, every single one of them.
I think it's fine to have these debates.
My cousins, fuck them.
I piss people off.
I know these people. That's why I'm saying it.
That's another thing that I'm trying not to even, like, what am I supposed to cater my opinion just to make sure that, one person in the comments is feeling better about me? Like, come on.
They are my cousins, my uncle, my aunt. Yeah. I know these people. Fuck them. They're evil. Even though they're family, they're evil.
Yeah.
They're just bad people. They love the joy of taking away rights from people.
Actually, I just had a friend come over and he's dealing with that. He's part of the LGBT community, and his parents are hyper conservatives, and not even just super conservatives. I'm talking like they are the worst of the worst, and they also have a very large family. So his sisters are starting to think the same way, and it's bad, man. Like it's one of those really weird things I'm seeing with him where he's like, but I love my family, but I have just realized that they're very okay with sending me to a camp. It's like, then you need to reconcile with that and the whole loving your family part, because it doesn't sound like they love you. That's very conditional.
From people. Like, you should have saw the fucking Facebook post from my cousins who are Trump supporters. Yes, they love it. These people are fucking evil. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. If you have family members who are Trump supporters, I understand. I don't love my family members who are Trump supporters. Fuck those people. But if you love yours, that's fine. I understand why you're upset. But it's objectively true. It's not. It's subjectively true. But they're just bad people. They relish in other people's suffering.
When you actually relish in people's misery, that's when But do not act like we haven't made the conservative tears memes and you relish in their 2020 loss. Like, come on.
You don't get this many people voting.
Theirs is just coming from a much darker place.
Are even this connected or politically aware to what's going on? You see it just in look at all those I wish I had them on me, but there's these interviews with people about why they voted for Trump. And it's just things that have nothing to do with him.
Absolutely.
I saw someone say they voted for Trump because they don't want to be forced to carry a miscarriage or something like that, happened over the past couple of years.
I saw another video like that.
Yeah.
And it's they think Biden did that because it happened under Biden due to what Trump did.
Yep.
But they don't know anything.
I saw
so,
sorry, just
but
on
Mike
that
said he's
point,
not talking
I saw
about
a
those
video
people.
of this is
He's talking about
someone
his
this is a Gen Z woman saying she voted for Trump because he protected abortion rights by putting it back to the states. Like this is.
But that's sad.
These are the people that exist.
A lot of people. I've heard that in my own life.
Like, but these people need.
That's
should have
profoundly
got
sad.
informed. I don't know every ballot measure. I got to look that shit up.
Yeah.
Should have got informed.
But that's
Yeah.
like,
all these,
that's never
all
going to
these
win.
people out there who are thinking tariffs are going to help them, like they don't know. And like, I wish it was that
So
simple
sad.
to just say,
Better know. Better start looking shit up. Doing your research.
But I wish I could say that. I mean, I wish it was that simple. But how do you want better and just give up on people who are going out voting? Like I do think obviously the bigger fish to fry
It's easy
here
to do
is
now,
getting the non-voters,
especially
because
it
they're
hasn't even been a
obviously
week.
more amicable to maybe what you're selling, because they clearly weren't, swayed by Trump's message, but they also weren't swayed by the Democrats' message either. But there's a good, decent number of people out there who were just fooled or tricked and don't know any better. Why give up on them? Like, I could see getting mad at them. I could see that, but you can't just give up on them.
Mm.
Yeah, let me respond to this one. Is Mike giving up or redirecting energy? I'm absolutely not giving up. I've come to the conclusion that I don't think we can actually fix our system. So what does that mean?
I mean,
Just give
again,
up, stop voting? No, of course.
See, this is this is the problem with thinking that you need to do it all at once. Like everybody does this. This was my problem with a lot of the people that were supporting Bernie, where they you would talk about policies with them and they were just like, yeah, this needs to be instituted now. And if it's not, then I'm going to go, I'm just going to be a disaffected voter where I'm just not even going to participate anymore. And that was, not only kind of shocking to me, where I was just like, so you're willing to participate only if you get your way. It also kind of bothered me that I'm like, oh, so this is just going to happen now. And you're not even going to try again. You're not even going to try to participate, but you're also going to not even try and build a coalition. You're just giving up. So, and then for some reason, I'm supposed to listen to them over most other people because they're the disaffected voters, the one that we need to be paying attention to.
It's not. We organize and we protect the people who are the most vulnerable and protect.
On both sides, they're doing that, by the way.
Protect ourselves.
They did that with Trump all through Biden.
I think that at this point in time, the best that we can hope for is to just survive and help the people we care about survive.
Oh yeah,
So
but I'm sure you've been advocating for that forever. We should be doing that regardless of who had won this outcome, because it was always about picking your enemy ultimately.
Exactly.
But that doesn't change anything. Right?
Exactly.
Like you should be
just have
looking
to be more
towards,
vigilant.
honestly, if you want to be winning elections, win local state elections, win local districts, campaign in that area. Watch Adam Conover's latest video if you haven't already, where the first half of it seems like he's just praising the Democrats. He's not. He's saying they suck, but at the end of it, he's like, you know what? I live in LA. I was surrounded by homeless people. I wanted to do something about it. I joined an organization that is feeding and clothing for the homeless, and then we canvassed to get a leftist elected into our local council, and now we've reduced homelessness by doing housing for solutions. It's a real thing. You can manifest it. You can make it into reality. I did it. You can too. That's what you should be selling people on, regardless of who was going to win this election, because this election was never going to
easy for us
usher in
behind our computers
socialism, usher in any kind of revolution or something like that. It was just going to hold off Trump. It was hopefully going to hold off Trump for a little while longer to buy us more time for the climate, to buy us more time for everything. But now, this is life. This is the timeline.
I just want to respond to this. I saw Cavernacle said that no voters had the moral high ground. I love you, brother, but no, that's just so wrong. Yeah. You can't tell me that me voting for Kamala to protect my trans niece is immoral.
Yeah, no.
It's there's no good option.
This is
there's
no
anti-genocide
this is
option,
the shit
but
right
you're
here.
voting out of survival.
It just makes a lot of people go, wait, this is what they're fighting about?
That's so different. So you can't equate the two and make it seem as if both sides are equally bad. Yes, both sides are capitalist. Both sides are...
Yeah, that's such a big brain take from the Cavernacle.
Or, the politicians, both sides are bad, but there's a meaningful difference there that you can't ignore. And the people who vote for harm reduction, they're not making that decision because they're evil. They're making it because there's no other choice. you have to change the system to get more parties. In Oregon, we finally had ranked choice voting on the ballot, and that motherfucker failed overwhelmingly.
Yep, because nobody understood it.
That's the only way to get it, and it failed. So, but like within the absence of electoral reform, it's just those two options that are going to win. So you cannot blame the voters who make a choice that is impossible, that is out of necessity. You can blame them if they vote for Hitler too.
All right. Yeah, that was really good. So let's do this. All right, I'm gonna give my final thoughts on this. So I'm gonna give everybody a lot of leeway here because, and I'm talking all four of them. They all made some good points, but they also were, I feel like, off a little bit. But the only way that they were off was that I kind of feel like it was coming from like a place of just emotion. Like I'm doing the same thing. Like I've said some stuff that usually it's out of character. Like checking my empathy at the door with the Latino community that voted for Trump. I said this. Like I actually said that, and I did kind of have this attitude just yesterday where I was kind of like, all right, you know, if it happens, it happens, whatever. Just not gonna sit there and harp on it, which I'll just like, it's not my like top issue. Like I would rather put my energy into helping people that would like the help as opposed to constantly telling us that this isn't in fact an actual issue. So but that's, you know, I'm also evolving on that one. Like I'm taking this as a reset, but that's also where I'm trying to be kind and take it with a grain of salt from everybody. Mike was the only one where I was a little surprised by just how hot his takes were, where I was like, okay, I could see why this turned into a little bit of a debate. It seems just, yeah, I actually, in the comments, let me know where you guys are at, because I feel like it's just such a mixed bag. You know, I got some friends that have a little bit of hopium. I'm trying to be on that side because I don't see the point in just going full doomer. It doesn't really do anything for us. I feel like if you have a little bit of hope, also if you just reserve your energy for rebuilding and actually focusing on ideas that were popular with like the Sanders campaigns and focusing on how we can get that into like the mainstream, that is what we really should be putting our energy into. But I know it really does feel like we just keep getting kicked in the teeth. One step, two steps forward, or one step forward, two steps back. Actually, I was playing a game the other day and I said that, but to that game, it actually did work like that, where it was, you would take two steps forward and then you just get pushed one step back, and that's the way that you had to progress through the level. God, what game was I playing? Sonic Frontiers, that's right. Good game. Anyway, that's how I'm coping. I'm actually getting more into gaming again, playing games that I've just, you know, been sitting on for over a year. I think Sonic Frontiers came out like literally a year ago, but that game really is great. I'm gonna just reiterate that again. But yeah, as I was saying, like, we really do need to use this as a time to reflect. We got plenty of time, even leading up to the next election, but that doesn't mean to get complacent and just not do anything now. I'm saying it's not like we have to have this ready tomorrow. So anyway, I really do appreciate you guys being here. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you already aren't. Leave that comment. I am actually interested to know how you guys are doing, what you guys are doing to cope, and also if you guys have any ideas on where to go from here, I would love to know. So I sincerely appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you in the next one.